Hello, everybody, and welcome back, or welcome for the first time, whatever it might be. I am going to take a request from a comment I had on one of my videos, going through basically not all, but a pretty decent outline of my Photoshop journey. And we've got a lot to get to, so I will try my best to get through them, kind of talk about ones that probably deserve a little bit more discussion and just kind of skim through, maybe do a breakdown of some of them. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes, I guess. So, first and foremost, this is pretty much my first big Photoshop creation I did. Not of my own creativity at all. I found a tutorial by this guy Howard Pinsky, and he's still doing a ton of tutorials in Photoshop, Adobe based tutorials, and he's a wizard, a mastermind, and I literally just followed his tutorial to make this scene right here, and I'm very, looking back, obviously, again, it's all Howard, but I'm just very pleased to look back on this and be like, you know what, I did follow a tutorial, but I did make this, and I still love it. It's like such a cool kind of sci-fi, typical movie cinematic scene, and I love it. So moving on. This, which was also another tutorial I followed, flame up the wazoo, just a lot of screen blending mode for the fire, and I just inverted myself and made this little fireball out of different assets of fire and flame, and just using the distort swirl tool to make it look like that. And it's cool for what it is, but nothing super impressive. This one, just goofing around. I should mention again, a lot of these I had to pull from my Facebook, so the quality might not be amazing, but it should show you the general picture. But yeah, just messing around. I had this very tiny Yoda lightsaber hilt and wanted to make a lightsaber out of it. So this was a very basic, kind of your classic white line you make with your brush tool and then adding a glow to it, and very simple stuff, but the lighting on my face is just all messy and terrible. On from there, actually one that I really like still. I mean, it's not super perfect. There's some messy cutout and a little bit of stuff that just doesn't look quite right, but from a distance, I really like. It's just like a simple, cool Photoshop edit, something a kid of whatever I was, 15 or 16, wanted to do, and yeah, I honestly really like that one. And this one, another classic, just like, compilation photo, put yourself in a scene multiple times. Some good areas, obviously, like this doesn't look all that bad at all, but then you have stuff like this where my leg is partially transparent and the cutouts aren't great. But I mean, props to me. There's some pretty funny stuff in there. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, kind of classic. You're learning Photoshop, and this is what you're going to do with it. This was a tutorial I believe I followed from Flern, Aaron Nace at Flern. He's another wizard and mastermind who I used a lot of his tutorials when I was first starting out to learn what Photoshop was and how to create unique and interesting images. And this was one of the tutorials I followed, maybe not super well because I was still learning, but a cool effect. Some stuff to be desired. Yes, that is my eye that I edited up the wazoo. Moving on again, it's the same photo from that flame photo, but this was my original idea for this. And again, it is what it is. The lighting is absolutely bonkers and super messy, but the beginnings of more stuff that I would do later on. This one, overdone once again. I mean, enough debris to fill an entire house with, but some cool stuff. This using of a muzzle flash asset and editing oh gosh, I'm gonna sound like such a novice with guns. Good grief. Editing this to make it look like it was firing. I'm not going to spend any more time on that one. Floating, another classic Photoshop learning technique everyone learns. Just using a piano stool to make that decent, clean. This is my very first Harry Potter attempt. I just, obviously, as you can see, grabbed a stick from my yard and decided I was like, yeah, I could do Harry Potter, and it's rough. It's very, very rough. But I will give myself some credit because I'm pretty sure I did this entirely by myself, off of techniques and stuff I had learned before. I tried it out and attempted to make it on my own, and you know what? I added the little like reflections like I did in one of my most popular videos on my channel right now, which is a much better spell effect than this. But you know what? We're seeing progress. Heat vision, kind of same deal. I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing because you just make lines and add a glow. And I guess I had recently discovered a lens flare, the ability to make lens flares. So I just blew that the heck out, and pathetic. I mean, that's that's some pathetic amount of facial hair, but that's beside the point. Moving on once again, me and my twin brother, surprise, I'm a twin, doing some Harry Potter stuff again. Very messy, glow effect on the ground, no sense of like depth or distance or anything. Super, I mean, what is this? Like, I think I literally just made selections with the lasso tool, filled it in, made a brush out of it, and just splattered it around. And it looks atrocious, but, some spark effects and just some random fire for whatever reason. But yeah, messy, young. Oh, talk about another awful one. My brother pulling an amazingly good-looking face, and I mean, this one in theory sounded super cool. At the time, I think it looked decent, but obviously looking back, it's terrible. I added a drop shadow to the car. Like, why? I don't understand. I really don't. This base shadow is fine, I guess. Like, not even really. Moving on. Giant, first time doing this, I believe. Super messy, cut out, bizarre looking look on my face. I don't know. It's fine. Nothing special. Again, another typical starting out on Photoshop thing. Mini volleyball. First time I've ever tried doing something miniature. Obviously, as you can tell, perspective's totally off. My feet don't match the floor at all. The depth of field, the shadows, like, what did I do? I just painted black all over, like, with no rhyme or reason. And the coloring is not quite right. Just everything about it is so bad. And then we're moving into college now. I just was doing random edits. I wanted to keep learning and keep creating. So Flash had just come out a couple years before, like a year or two before, and Firestorm was in that. And I was like, oh, I can do that in Photoshop. And, it's fine. It's fine. That's all I can say about it. Just screen effect on the flames, moving them around, making it look like you're on fire. Really basic, but poorly executed, if I do say so. Here is another composite. Um, just again, me trying to stretch my muscles and see what I could learn and do. Some decent, reflections on the surface that I made. At the time, I hadn't really done that at all, but it was something my young eyes were like, oh, well, a reflective surface should have your reflection on it. Congratulations. You're a genius. But again, like, it was, in my defense at the time, I didn't have the ability to, like, super well match depth of field or anything. It also was just something I don't think I was even really aware of at the time. And then another college edit, kind of inspired by Flern, again, Aaron Nace, doing awesome stuff and me mimicking it poorly. Just a super over-edited photo right there. I don't know what else to say. Same photo, different type of edit. Rough, super rough. Gosh, I don't like looking at these. I was playing League of Legends a lot at the time, so I made this one. It's supposed to be Brand from League of Legends, if you know that game, and just way overdid this air distortion from the heat. I look like a total fool. Cool idea at the time, poor execution once again. Star Wars, the Last Jedi, not the Last Jedi, Force Awakens was just coming out at this time, and there was a poster similar to this. And this is a classic white line made with your brush and glows, and I've got a couple lightsaber effects on here, and they progressively get better, and a reflection in the eye, that's fine. It's nothing super accurate, but you know what? It's decently cool. A Christmas time edit. Again, me just trying to come up with something interesting, but as decent as it looks from a distance, once you get in and start scrutinizing the reflections that are totally off and terrible shadowing, and I mean, this picture is out of focus, and I'm more in focus than the picture I'm putting myself in, and no contact shadows, and just generally bad lighting. Although I will give myself some credit, some decent like red and green lighting I added to myself that was not there before. Another lightsaber edit, same old, nothing special. Another floating photo, trying to add a little bit more to it this time. Just a photo of a Yankee Candle and a photo of a potted plant I found on the internet and poorly threw in and blurred and cut out and janky. I think I did some like overlay with the curves. I was doing that a lot. You just put a curves layer in, change it to overlay or soft light, and it gives you this kind of very contrasty image. This one was pretty cool. I like this one a lot. It was, I think, probably my first time incorporating like brushes made from images, and obviously you can tell it's a lot of smoke images that I made a brush out of, and followed a tutorial for this. I believe I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but yeah, as you can tell, rocking the short sleeves and shorts in probably fall or end of winter when there's snow out, which classic Michigan man. But yeah, it's a cool effect. The same brush, you can just tell it's used all the time. So, some little stuff like that, but a cool concept. And then another one with the same type of idea of, kind of a night crawler vibe. And it's pretty rough, but it's kind of cool. Cool concept. This is my first major composite, if you want to call it that. It is, gosh, it's awful. I used some like gradient I had learned from a tutorial to make a sun glow effect. The lighting on this bird is trash. The cutout of the bird is trash. Me on the ground over here is trash. I mean, there's so much to hate about this, honestly. But let's not dwell on it too much. My first major composite, I've come a long way since then, and you'll see more of that soon. Another terrible composite for May the 4th, I should say. Gosh, it's so bad. I don't want to even. All right, we're moving on. I can't say anything about that. That isn't obvious. And then we see Engulfed. I made a video about this, updating this, and I think we'll see that a little later on. Or maybe not, probably not actually. But yeah, this is my first edit I think I was super, super happy with. Cool, engulfed Johnny Storm, whatever you want to call it, effect. And I think it looks pretty cool. And then just a major Star Wars edit for the camp I was at. Kind of cool. The AT-AT doesn't look too bad, or ATST. Which one is the big one? I always forget. It doesn't look terrible, but, the lightsabers look fine, I guess. A cool edit for a summer camp, I would say. And this one, I really like the concept of it. I think the eyes are pretty cool, honestly, still looking back at them. The color of the eyes is super vibrant and kind of fantasy sci-fi, which I like. And then the veins are, cool. They're not super perfect or anything, but they add a lot to it. And I'm fairly happy with those still, but I never really got the scales coming through the skin the way I wanted. I think the idea and the concept is there, and some of the execution, but not all of it for sure. A cool fire edit, doesn't look too bad. It's fairly realistic. Slight glow in the eyes, crazy hair. Yeah, I think that was one that I was like, I didn't have to do too much to, and it just looked good. And that's sometimes the case with these Photoshop edits. And we're kind of getting into the area where like I'm doing edits that I actually think are still pretty cool, if not perfectly executed. And here's another one of those. Is like, I don't even know what I was doing. I just messing around with different glows and layer styles and making wiggly effects and just distorting the crap out of the background and adding a crazy light with curves and just blowing it out. But it's kind of cool. You let me know if you disagree, but it's a decent idea with messy execution, but overall kind of cool. And same here. It's like super overdone and kind of crazy, but kind of cool. And then back to college again. This is awful. It's terrible. None of it makes any sense. It's just so bad. Another one that's like conceptually, I don't know. It looked better in my head. Let's just put it that way. And not just the shadowing and lighting in general is super messy and all over the place. This one was kind of, it still holds up pretty well. It looks pretty good. The finger coming over the phone on either side and the phone kind of pressing in the finger. Decent. It's a fake shirt, which, looking back now, I'm like, there's no way this fooled anybody, right? But yeah, I like that one a lot, actually. It still holds up pretty well. This was a fun one, just an inflatable Boba Fett jetpack and me messing around with, I think those are just muzzle flashes from a gun and lens flares and a little bit of, I don't know how I made those. Maybe, I think it was just some asset I found. And then some actually decently real distortion here from the heat, which I like. Some messy motion blur, but it sells it, and just some fire in the background because I guess I was a pyromaniac, as you'll see in the next one. This was something I made just reminiscent of the "This is fine" meme that was going around with the dog in the burning house. I'm sure you remember it. Yeah, again, kind of messy heat distortion, but it's a messy image, so that kind of works. And just a funny, goofy edit with some, crazy long hair. Back to college again, kind of incorporating what I learned from Howard Pinsky's original Planet tutorial and building off of that and trying to put them into the sky, and it's all right. It's nothing special, but learning and getting better, as you can tell. I'm trying to make this interesting, but there's only so much I can do. Let's speed through the rest of these. Dark eyes, I had learned a tutorial for how to get the highlights from the eyes to remain, but make a dark eye, and then obviously me adding a little bit of, those are some veins. I didn't even realize that. Just some veins and whatever black dripping substance that is supposed to be. And a little bit of progress on the amount of facial hair I can grow from the earlier photos. Creepy photo, good for Halloween. We're getting there, so yeah. Another May the 4th, super low quality, but funny concept, just something silly, because I love doing Star Wars lightsaber-based edits. The lightsaber looks a lot better, the blade itself at least. The hilt I composited in, it looks fine, and I just drew this with different variation brushes and added smoke, and, looks decent. Batman, I think one of my best composites at the time that I was very happy with the concept and execution of for the most part. It's a model Batmobile. It doesn't match perfectly with the background plate, but it's good enough. Some decent wheel spinning smoke and debris. It's probably a little much, but overall, and even some little tread marks from the tires, so it's all right. Now out to California. Wow, we still have a lot to go. In California, making some Doctor Strange type edit. I had just downloaded a brush pack with a ton of different techno, interesting stuff, so I tried my hand at it. It's, again, a lot of this is like conceptually decent, but executed pretty poorly. But there's some good stuff in here. And then another floating effect that I shot of my roommate at the time. It's just a nice photo. Like the composite, where the photo itself is better with like a cooler imagery. The sun glowing through her hair and these particles floating around her. It just lends to a better looking effect and sold really well. And then another one that we've gone over on my channel before, something I was really happy with. It was inspired by something similar to this that I saw on the internet and made my own version of it. More if you watch the video, more breakdown of that. Piano Man, cool little edit. I like it. Still looks pretty good. Not perfect. Shadowing is 10 billion times better than anything I'd done in the past. Color is more or less there. I think probably the orange could be a little desaturated maybe, but yeah, a cool image that I was, again, inspired by something else. Riverdale was big at the time, wanted to be in Riverdale, so I made this mock-up poster, and it's decent. Actually, you know what? I'll say it's pretty good. I matched the colors really well. The glow on the hair and the side of the head is good enough. It convinced a lot of people, so I guess That's the main point of it. And then Flash again as well was big, and a show I was a big fan of. Made my own font, and or not made my own font, but adjusted the font how I wanted it. Kind of cool, a little rough and kind of cheesy, but fun. Incredible Hulk, pretty decent. I obviously made myself bigger, both height and muscle-wise, just with liquefy and various techniques to adding abdominals and pecs and more vein stuff, and just colored myself with a hue and saturation filter. Orb, kind of a similar concept to what I had done in the past. Not really all that great. I don't like it at all. Looking back at it now and trying to do some more vein stuff, which is like, kind of uninspired and trying to improve upon something I'd done in the past, but not really succeeding. And then Fleur and Christmas, Aaron Nace was doing like a Christmas themed thing where you just take photos of him and edit them and put them in a photo. It was a decent edit. The lighting isn't perfect or anything, but I did like this part. I think that reflection was really solid still, looking back on it now even, but it's fine. Okay, and moving on again, kind of incorporating the same planet creation from Howard Pinsky. It's stuck with me all these years. It's a really great tutorial, honestly, and it's taught me a lot, as you can tell, and inspired me a lot. So yeah, I made some. I had some cloud brushes that I used to make some clouds on here. I made this string in Photoshop, which looks pretty decent, honestly. I don't typically make stuff organically, or not organically, but I don't typically make it in Photoshop. But this string actually looks pretty good, like the furrowed edge, whatever it is. And the shadowing is fine, nothing special, but it's a cool image. I like this concept a lot. Trapped, another one I've done on my channel already. Really great execution. I like this one a lot. Nothing new to be said about it. This one is, again, something I saw and wanted to execute better than I did, but it's good. It's not perfect. But the concept, again, is cool, although not mine, so can't take too much credit for it. Cards, this one always eluded me. I like the idea of miniature or large edits a lot, as you could tell through going through my work, but it's just so particular with depth of field and color and just matching the right angle, and this one just wasn't there. Like the piano one is so much better, and the reflection's decent. All things considered, it's fine, but just looking at it, it's not very convincing, and that's what I want to convey in this type of photo edit. Is like you're convinced. You're like, how did he do that? Kind of cheesy, but whatever. Game of Thrones edit. I was just putting myself in some photos because it was funny. I think the low quality makes it look better than it actually did. Not to say that it was bad per se, but like this whole, whatever you want to call it, fur cape, I had used a blanket for it and then used a hairbrush to like create this, and it, you know what, all things considered, again, I don't do that too much, let alone to this extent, and I think it looks pretty decent, and obviously just a little adding the hair again over my hand, and the shadowing is nice and whatnot, but the coloring isn't quite correct. Almost done. Thanksgiving, just a goofy edit. Shadow looks good. Smoke or steam coming off it looks good. Massive utensils looks good. It is. It's funny. It's exactly what I was going for. Here we are at the first of my May the 4th edits that I was super happy with. The background is fine. Man, I've been saying fine a lot, but that's really how I feel. Let me know if you feel differently, but the lightsabers look awesome. This was from a tutorial I had learned by another guy. I forget his name right now, but I'll link him in the comment. The technique is so much cleaner and better and makes a more realistic lightsaber effect as my roommate. And it just looks really good. The lighting is nice. I like that a lot. I like the smoke behind us, the Millennium Falcon, and the booster light beam, whatever you want to call it. Gosh, the light trail looks really good. And I think it's a cool little poster art. Another one of me putting myself in images. Again, not perfect. I'm a little too in focus, but it's just a funny edit, and that's what I was going for. And overall, I think I achieved that. Another one, I think this one is probably a little bit better. I matched it pretty well. Maybe not the contrast and the black and white look. The black and white look isn't perfect, but happy with the concept and execution overall. Here we are at the Harry Potter that I can do now. It's much cooler, much more realistic. The lighting is infinitely better. The sparks and just everything about it looks so much cooler now. And again, this was just me using other skills and picking up techniques along the way and improving upon what I started out with all those years ago. And then just a simple Lumos, throwing in some smoke brushes and lighting yourself accurately. That's all it takes, and this was looks good. Here's another one of my favorite composites. This photo of Robert Pattinson came out, as maybe some of you saw. Hopefully you saw, because it's hilarious. And I was like, yeah, I want to be in there. So just me eating ice cream in the background. Not much to say about it. Just funny. And I will say that I did match it pretty darn well in terms of like angle. The feet match with the floor. The shadows are decent enough. Pretty convincing. And yeah, I think that one's hilarious to this day. Which brings us to my biggest composite I'd ever done up till this point. This was a big step for me because I had never done anything to this extent before, with so many moving parts and pieces, and then actually being happy with the result. I love this photo. I love just the glow to this looks great. The shadow coming from the light of the moon, the shadow of the house in the air looks cool. The bat that I made just with like the lasso tool looks great. The lighting on the tree looks great. The pumpkin and the lighting on the grass looks really good. Same with back here and on this, and this pumpkin in the distance and this pumpkin here, like just all of it I'm very happy with. And although I obviously never got any major recognition for it from Benny Productions for his Spooky Edit War, like I was just pleased with everything about this, and still love it to this day. Another kind of going back to my roots, taking some techniques from again more YouTubers that I've found and tutorials I've watched. It's rough, which shows you that even now with my many years of experience, I don't always make really great edits. But the ice side looks super cool. I think the flame side looks fine enough. It's I'm probably degrading myself a little too much. Maybe let me know if you think so. But yeah, I achieved what I wanted with it for the most part. And moving on, another composite with me and my brother. Just a fun Battlefield themed edit because we were trying to stream for a while, but Twitch isn't working on our Xboxes, so that's a whole nother thing. But again, just fun. I used tape to hold back the chamber, the barrel, whatever the heck this is. I cannot think of it for the life of me. And just edited it out, and you know what? I don't know what to say about it, honestly. And that's probably not going to lend to a very exciting video, but it's just cool. I like this edit a lot. Which brings us to one of the most recent kind of edits I've done. I don't want to just rehash a lot of the stuff that you've seen on the channel. So this was just a funny Valentine's Day edit. I was bored, so I was like, hey, I might as well make something. I made this whole heart in Photoshop just using textures and coloring, obviously, and it looks pretty good, honestly. Like, the texture looks nice and realistic somewhat to what those candy hearts are, and the text I mimicked, which was pretty simple, and yeah, just a ton of pink and purple bokeh to really sell the goofiness of the effect. And that is it. I hope you guys aren't too bored with any of this, because it's probably a very long, grueling video, and I know I didn't always have too much to say about all of them, or wasn't very insightful with it. But if you ever want me to go in depth on any edits that you saw in this video, let me know. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching my journey in Photoshop, and maybe it will inspire some of you or anybody to start it and see where they can go with it, because you can do so much with this software, and it's pretty nuts. And I'm happy that I've learned so much and come so far, and that there are so many great creators out there sharing their knowledge and insight. So I'll see you guys in the next one.